Tonight, breaking news, the rescues in Dallas, the historic flooding, 17 million Americans under flood watches and alerts as we come on the air tonight. The devastating images from Texas, just outside Dallas, one area reporting 15 inches of rain in 12 hours. In Dallas-Fort Worth, more than 9 inches, the most rain in 24 hours in nearly a century. Cars abandoned, swept off roads, drivers pulled from their vehicles. First responders swimming along I-30, trying to reach stranded drivers and families. And the images from Utah, rescuers there searching for that missing hiker caught in the flooding at Zion National Park. Flood watches in effect tonight across several states. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z timing this out. Also tonight, 3 law enforcement officers suspended after this disturbing video, appearing to show them punching and kneeling on a suspect in Arkansas. What Arkansas's governor is now saying tonight. The major turn in the search for that missing teenager in California. After weeks, authorities tonight now confirming volunteers did find the car underwater and human remains inside. Tonight, what authorities are now saying about their own search teams who spent time at that lake. Matt Gutman reporting. Breaking news as we come on tonight involving former President Trump. He's now seeking the appointment of a special master to review materials seized by the Justice Department at Mar-a-Lago. So what could this mean, and what is the likelihood of this? Terry Moran with late reporting. In Russia, the question tonight, who killed the daughter of that well-known Putin ally? The images on Russian TV of the car in flames, the father, his hands on his head. Tonight, Russia pointing to Ukraine. Ukraine's new response tonight, and the U.S. State Department now weighing in on this. Also, major news on COVID. Pfizer submitting its request to the FDA on its new booster that will cover the original vaccine and the newest variants, BA4, BA5, and how long from here. Also tonight, Dr. Anthony Fauci revealing he is stepping down from his role, having served 7 presidents, Republicans and Democrats. What he might do next, Cecilia Vega in Washington. The major airlines cutting thousands of flights in the U.S. this fall. What's driving this? The horrific crash killing several college students, including 2 freshman members of the college football team. And tonight here, Jupiter as you've never seen it before. The new images coming in from NASA.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to start another week with all of you at home. We do have that breaking news involving former President Trump and the 3 officers suspended after that disturbing video in a separate case. But we do begin tonight with the historic and devastating flooding in Dallas, and we have just learned it has now turned deadly. The rescue's underway all day today, and tonight more than 17 million Americans are on alert for flooding into the night, with the system now on the move. In Dallas-Fort Worth, more than 9 inches in 24 hours, the highest total in 90 years. And outside Dallas, one area reporting 15 inches of rain. The high water rescues to get to families and drivers stranded all day today. The rain falling so heavily and so quickly. Drivers caught by surprise near downtown Dallas. These images from Interstate 30. Dramatic rescues from flooded underpasses, firefighters plunging into neck-high waters, pulling drivers from their submerged vehicles. Elsewhere, the rushing water carrying cars away and simply dumping them. Cars piled up, a truck teetering off the wall. Neighborhood streets turned to rivers, flooding homes, rescue teams helping families make the dangerous journey out. Tonight, this flood threat is now pushing east. Multiple states facing flood watches and alerts at this hour, so Ginger Z is standing by on that. But first, ABC's Will Carr leading us off from Dallas tonight.
Tonight, a once-in-a-thousand-year rain event swamping the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Look at some of these totals. Southeast Dallas, potentially over 15 inches of rain. Balk Springs, where there was a lot of problems, over 12 inches of rain, so a foot of rain.
The rain moving in fast overnight, inundating urban roadways.
Caught people off guard, but I think everybody wasn't anticipating this much rain this fast.
For many trying to get through, their vehicles stalling in the floodwaters. Near downtown Dallas, this incredible scene captured by a storm chaser's drone, showing first responders swimming on Interstate 30, trying to reach stranded motorists, directing them to higher ground. Receding water revealing this pickup truck atop a highway barrier. And the rain kept coming long after sunrise.
So many cars have been stranded and abandoned in these floodwaters after we've seen more rain in the past 24 hours than this area normally gets in an entire summer.
East of Dallas and Balch Springs, families and their pets rescued from their homes surrounded by rapids.
The current's so strong going past my house, it'll wash you away.
Monsoon rains combined with the tropical system brought widespread flooding across the Southwest all weekend. And in Utah's Zion National Park, crews searching for Jatel Agnihotri overdue from her hike, missing after flash floods tore through the park Friday.
I mean, it's frustrating. It's already day 3 for us, and we haven't found any clue except the backpack.
Searchers finding another injured hiker who was swept away, taking them to the hospital.
David, tonight as that storm system shifts east, the county judge here just announced the first death related to this flood system. He also just announced a county disaster, hoping to help everybody here in Dallas County. David.
Extraordinary pictures coming in from our station WFAA, and our thanks to you, Will, as well. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z, who's been tracking this all day. Millions, Ginger, we know, are in the threat zone heading into tonight.
Right, David, and we knew this was going to be a remarkable flood event. The computer models saw it 4 days ago, and sure enough, it verified. One of the big components, how dry they've been. In one day, Dallas has gone, for some parts of it, from exceptional drought, which is the highest level, to now their second wettest August on record. When you add more than a half foot of rain anytime, that's a big deal. But when you add it on top of such dry soil, you're making an even bigger impact. Their wettest 1 hour total, more than 3 inches, and also their wettest 24-hour period. Now all of that flash flooding, those very slow-moving thunderstorms are moving east. So from Austin up to Shreveport, Jackson, and Yazoo City, Mississippi into Alabama, you're going to have to watch out for the next target area. David.
Ginger Z with us tonight as well. Ginger will be watching first thing in the morning. In the meantime, we turn next tonight to that disturbing video, and now 3 Arkansas law enforcement officers have been suspended tonight. The video captures a violent arrest. We warn you, it's difficult to watch, and tonight the governor of Arkansas calling it reprehensible. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight, 3 law enforcement officers in Arkansas are suspended as officials investigate this video. Officers seen striking and kneeing a man during a violent arrest Sunday morning.
This is bad.
Police identifying the man as 27-year-old Randall Ray Worcester of South Carolina. He's accused of threatening and spitting on a store clerk at a Mulberry convenience store. Officers later finding Worcester nearby.
The officer asked him if he had any weapons on him, and he said he did, and I believe he at one point handed it over to the officer.
The sheriff's department saying the suspect turned violent when they moved to detain him. But it is unclear what exactly happened before the start of the video. But tonight, Arkansas's governor promising a full investigation, already calling the conduct reprehensible.
This is not what our law enforcement community represents. It's not the proper response, and they will be reviewed and appropriate action taken.
Worcester was taken to the hospital and treated for his injuries. He is now facing a slew of charges, including battery, assault, resisting arrest, and allegedly making terroristic threats. The officers identified today as Crawford Sheriff's Deputy Zach King and Levi White and Mulberry Police Officer Tell Riddle.
The officers, none of them are rookies. They've been in law enforcement for some time.
David, those 3 officers are on paid administrative leave pending the results of the investigation by the Arkansas State Police. But we also know the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Department of Justice are investigating whether Worcester's civil rights were violated. And David, we learned today that there is dash cam video of what led up to this, but it has not yet been released. David.
All right, Marcus Moore on this developing story for us. Marcus, thank you. Now to the headline involving former President Trump at this hour. This evening, the former president is now seeking the appointment of a special master to review materials seized by the Justice Department at Mar-a-Lago. So what is the likelihood of this, and what would it mean for the investigation moving forward? Let's bring in Terry Moran tonight. And Terry, what have you learned?
Well, David, in this 21-page motion filed by the former president, he's essentially asking the court to halt any review of any of the documents that were seized in that search at his Mar-a-Lago home until a special master, that would be an individual who would be appointed by the court, can review them, quote, in order to preserve the sanctity of executive communications. Of course, as a former president, Donald Trump's claim of executive privilege is pretty thin, but this document goes way beyond that. It is in many ways political and rhetorical. It's a ferocious attack on the search, the investigation, the Department of Justice. But one thing won't change. Even if a special master is appointed, the fact will remain that classified material was found in that search.
So we'll wait to see if this, in fact, actually happens. All of this unprecedented, this case. Terry, in the meantime, this comes as another judge determines whether to release that government affidavit. There's been so much debate about this. The affidavit obviously would lay out the grounds for the search in much greater detail, but the judge today suggesting he may not release it.
That's right, David. In this document that Judge Bruce Reinhart released, which was laid out his legal thinking on the matter, he acknowledged that the government has a very good case for keeping the entire thing sealed. Even with redactions, the judge suggested it might lead to a meaningless disclosure, but he will review it and decide in the coming days. David?
Terry Moran on both headlines involving the former president. Terry, thank you. Now to the major turn tonight after weeks of searching for that missing teenager in California. Tonight, authorities have now confirmed that Kylie Rodney's car has been found in a lake not far from where she disappeared and that human remains have been discovered. A volunteer group finding the car 14 feet underwater. So how did they find it? Search teams had been there before. Here's our chief national correspondent, Matt Guppin, tonight.
Tonight, the weeks-long search for missing teenager Kylie Rodney ended just yards from where it began. Late Sunday, a team from the volunteer group Adventures with Purpose with that stunning find, just 2 days after beginning its search. Using cutting-edge sonar technology, they detected an object that they discovered to be a vehicle in 14 feet of water, 55 feet offshore. Today, authorities confirming it was Rodney's vehicle with human remains inside.
The lake was extensively searched with side sonar, with an ROV. We had divers, we had swimmers. If you look at the amount of man hours that went into it, it was like over 15,000. And I know it's even higher than that now.
Law enforcement say they plan to debrief Adventures with Purpose about their methods. Initially, the case was treated as a possible abduction because early on August 6th, both Rodney and her car had vanished without a trace. Authorities widely circulating this image of Rodney captured on surveillance video in the last outfit she was seen in. That night, she had attended a party at the Prosser family campground near Truckee, a community north of Lake Tahoe. There were several hundred other teens there, many of whom were drinking. Her mother said she got a text from Rodney saying she was heading home, but an hour later at 12:30 a.m., her cell phone pinged for the last time near the lake where her vehicle was eventually found.
Dad and Grandpa were on scene less than 2 minutes.
That must have been pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's very tragic, At that point, we were, all hope for her coming home was gone. They were very frustrated with how things played out.
And David, tonight, the Rodney family issuing a statement saying, in part, Kylie will surely remain with us, even though we will not get her back. Now, an autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow. Law enforcement has not yet positively identified those remains as Kylie's. They believe them to be hers. They say this is still an active investigation. David.
All right, Matt Guppin on this case again. Thank you, Matt. We turn now to the war in Ukraine and overseas in Russia. The question remains tonight, who killed the daughter of a well-known Putin ally? Tonight, Russia saying it was a woman, a Ukrainian spy who did it. The images on Russian TV of that car in flames and of the father at the scene, his hands on his head. So tonight, Russia clearly pointing to Ukraine, Ukraine's new response this evening, and the U.S. State Department on this. ABC's Britt Clennett in Kyiv again tonight.
Tonight, new details on the brazen car bomb that killed the daughter of a Putin ally and strong supporter of the war in Ukraine. Videos airing on Russian television showing the SUV driven by 29-year-old Daria Dugina engulfed in flames just outside Moscow. Her father, Alexander Dugin, seen here, hands on his head, consumed with grief. His daughter was also outspoken, a Russian nationalist. Russia tonight claiming a female Ukrainian spy carried out the assassination using a remote control to detonate the bomb planted under Dugina's vehicle, ripping it apart, killing her instantly. Russia saying the spy escaped to neighbouring Estonia. Ukraine denying any involvement, saying in a statement to ABC News the whole story is a complete fake. Ukraine adding this woman and her father did not play any major role in this war and asking why Ukraine would risk taking action of this kind. Dugina had been driving home after an event she attended with her father. It's widely believed her father was the intended target. Dugin releasing a statement urging Russia to win the war, saying, "Our hearts yearn for more than just revenge." And in Ukraine, growing fears of retaliation.
There are dozens of these destroyed Russian tanks here in central Kyiv for Independence Day, a reminder of Russian aggression, but also a morale boost for people here. It's become almost a tourist attraction, but President Zelensky with a serious warning that Russia could try something particularly cruel.
In the next few days, public gatherings are banned, and state employees say they've been told to stay away from central Kyiv out of precaution.
David, tonight, real questions about what Ukraine has to gain by assassinating Dugin's daughter, having no major roles in the invasion. Meanwhile, here inside Ukraine tonight, authorities are urging people to stay indoors on Wednesday, Independence Day, which also falls 6 months to the day of Russia's invasion. And tonight, the U.S. State Department says it condemns any attack on civilians around the world, reiterating Ukraine's claim that it played no part. David.
Britt Clinton in Kyiv. Britt, thank you. Back here at home tonight, and the next step for millions of Americans looking to protect themselves from COVID. It appears closer tonight. Pfizer has now submitted its request to the FDA for its new booster shot. Now, this shot will combine the original vaccine with a vaccine targeted to the most recent variants in this country, the BA4 and BA5 Omicron variants. It'll be used for people 12 and older. The FDA's emergency use authorization is expected in just a few weeks in early September. The CDC would then need to sign off. Moderna's application for a similar booster is expected soon as well. Also tonight, Dr. Anthony Fauci revealing he is stepping down from his role at the National Institutes of Health, having served 7 presidents, Republicans and Democrats. He says he's ready for his next chapter. So what might he do next? Here's our chief White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega now.
Dr. Fauci, are you one of the most visible faces in the fight against COVID, both revered and loathed, Dr. Anthony Fauci today announcing he will step down as President Biden's chief medical advisor and head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which he has led for nearly 40 years.
I do want to do other things in my career.
Dr. Fauci's here.
He's advised 7 presidents, all of them since Ronald Reagan, on the front lines of everything from Ebola and Zika to the fight against HIV and AIDS.
Dr. Anthony S. Fauci.
President George W. Bush awarded him the Medal of Freedom. But it was the coronavirus that turned Fauci into a household name.
We still have a low risk to the American public.
Always pushing for science first in President Trump's White House, Fauci at times exasperated, his face in hand. He became the target of death threats and a rallying cry for conservatives opposed to masks and lockdowns. As the virus claimed more than 1 million lives in the U.S., Fauci acknowledged early missteps, like when he advised against wearing masks.
We didn't realize at all the extent of asymptomatic spread.
Now at 81, after more than half a century of government service, Fauci saying it's time for his next chapter.
Next chapter, 81 years young. Cecilia Vega live in Washington. Cecilia, Dr. Fauci making it clear he's leaving government, but he's not retiring.
Yeah, David, he's adamant there's more to come. He said to be working on a book, but look, as much as Dr. Fauci might hope to leave the politics of this town behind him, that might not be so easy. David, today Republicans here in Washington making it clear that if they take control of Congress in November, they plan to investigate Dr. Fauci and his handling of this pandemic.
All right, Cecilia Vega in Washington. Thank you, Cecilia. Now to news on the major airlines tonight after a summer of chaotic travel, those delays and cancellations. Now the airlines announcing big cuts to their flight schedules this fall. Gio Benitez covers aviation for us.
With fall just a month away, airlines are cutting tens of thousands of flights from the schedule. This after a summer of travel chaos. American cutting 1,200 flights per day in October. Delta and United about 1,000.
These large volume cuts are new. They haven't occurred in the previous several years.
That's why Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg sent this letter to the major airlines, saying in part, the level of disruption Americans have experienced this summer is unacceptable, telling the airlines they have to do more or new rules will be put in place. But the industry fired back, saying it already follows all federal guidelines and that weather was largely to blame for this year's cancellations and delays. Still, airlines acknowledge they are having major staffing issues after the pandemic. At the end of the day, fewer flights could mean higher prices.
This is going to be the new norm, I believe, for at least the next couple of years as we continue to work on bringing new pilots and bringing new crews into the industry and returning aircraft to service.
And David, if you're flying, you want to check that ticket several times to see if it's changed. You don't want any surprises the day of the flight. David.
All right, Gio Benitez, you'll track this right into the fall for us. Thank you. When we come back here tonight, news about the horrific crash killing several college students, including 2 freshman members of the college football team. To the index tonight, into a new study on memory. Researchers are working on a cap that you actually put on to improve your memory. The study from Boston University suggests the cap using electrodes that send electric pulses to the brain may actually boost memories of older adults for at least a month. You wear it for 20 minutes for 4 consecutive days. The study included 150 people, 65 to 88. Scientists hope the cap can one day be used to help adults at risk of dementia. They're going to keep studying this. When we come back here tonight, the stunning new image of Jupiter this evening. Finally tonight, Jupiter, as you've never seen it before. NASA tonight releasing 2 enhanced composite images from the James Webb Space Telescope today, revealing the largest planet in the solar system in stunning detail. On the lower right there, the famous Great Red Spot. The second image showing Jupiter's rings, its shining auroras at the north and south poles, and 2 tiny moons right there on the left. Those galaxies visible in the background. Quite something. I'll see you right here tomorrow night.